Aloha everyone and welcome to episode 9. Holy shit, episode 9 of season 1B of the Closers podcast. I will be your host this evening, Quinn Kalani, and I am in fact riding solo. No Chewy tonight, no Marco Alvarado, but fear not, for we shall brave this darkness together. What a crazy week. So much has been going on. Of course, there was UFC 249. We did a recap of that last Wednesday now. There's been two other fight cards in the interim. Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira. Alistair Overeem versus Walt the Big Ticket Harris, but more on that later. We have finally made it. The end of the scholastic year. Graduation 2020 is a big thing for myself. It's just another year down, and I'm thankful for it. I've been fairly reflective of this past year, and there's a lot that I think I could do better. There's a lot that I did that I'm very proud of. Mainly on the academic sides of things, But things that I could work on is what's been on my mind already. The next step, new goals. It's important to have new goals, especially in a time like this, man. In the uncertainty of the corona age, under this wet blanket of a pandemic that's been oppressing all of us and keeping us indoors and 6 feet away from each other. It's important to set goals so that you can keep moving forward, so you can keep trudging forward. It's hard to define what goals can do for you. It's easier to point out how things can be when you don't have goals. Without goals, what purpose can one serve? I don't know. But I know, speaking for myself personally, having goals has done a lot for me, getting me to places where I want to be. And in this time, I've been trying to set up new goals. Haven't really been accomplishing them, to be 100% honest with you. I've kind of been falling short, but trying nonetheless. One such goal. This is really shitty. The coronavirus hasn't impacted me in, so a lot of people are experiencing depression and that sort of thing. For myself, depression and anxiety. For myself, I haven't experienced these things, but what I have done is I've gained 25 pounds in 1 month. Holy shit. 25 pounds. When I came back from Hawaii, I was svelte. 162, 165. That was April 1st. It is May 17th, so it's been, 47 days, a month and some change. We're clocking in at 190. Good God. I'm looking forward to going back to Hawaii, as I'm sure anyone could expect. But, I just wanted to, I don't know what good it will do, and I don't know what good it is coming from me, but if you find yourself in this bizarre time, depressed, isolated, alone, just bummed out, set some goals. I'm not saying it will work for you, but it has worked for me. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of trudging on, Wednesday night, Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira, UFC Fight Night. These fight nights are still going on in Jacksonville. man, what a brutal, brutal contest. Anthony Smith was the fourth-ranked light heavyweight in the world, has a record of 33 wins, 15 losses. It's 1-2 now in his last three. His two defeats coming at the hands of Glover Teixeira, which was Wednesday night, and Johnny Bones Jones, light heavyweight champion, consensus greatest light heavyweight to ever walk the planet. He fought Glover Teixeira. I already kind of spoiled it for you. He fought Glover Teixeira and lost a fifth-round TKO finish. It was a brutal, brutal contest. There's a lot of conversations going on out there that it should have been stopped earlier. Rounds 4 and 5, man, they were rough to watch. The uppercuts Glover was landing on Anthony Smith were devastating. So devastating, in fact, Anthony Smith's teeth were falling out. I'll repeat that again. His teeth were falling out. At one point in the fight, Glover Teixeira had back mount, and Anthony Smith was picking up his teeth off the canvas and handing them to the referee, Jason Herzog. His teeth were falling out. How gnarly is that? But he kept pushing forward. He kept trudging forward. But a lot of people are contending that it should have been stopped. It never should have got to that point. I'm of the mindset that, yeah, it could have been stopped after the fourth. And it was crazy. Because the first two rounds, Anthony Smith came out guns blazing. He's looking fast. He gets his timing down real quick. Starts landing nasty 1-2s. Fighting real well from the outside, landing hard punches. Good movement. But this is something that DC pointed out as he was sitting cage side. There were no fans in the arena. So Anthony Smith's corner, the only person who I know name-wise is James Krause. Man, they were going 1,000 miles an hour. And DC was, apt to point this out, that Anthony Smith's pace was matching that of his corner. And Anthony Smith blew his wad hard in the third. There was a precipitous drop, man. The shoulders sank. The knees were slow to pick up. And Glover Teixeira, at 40 years of age, being the savvy veteran he is, being the tough son of a bitch he is, started laying it on hard. Nasty uppercuts. Nasty hooks over the top. Ended up securing a fifth-round TKO finish. Glover Teixeira set himself up as, if not, he set himself up for a number one contender's bout. Whether that would be against Dominic Reyes or Jan Blachowicz, well, that's up to John Jones, but he's right there, man. At 40 years of age, he is right there, one fight away from a world title fight, potentially. Now, there's been a lot of internet traffic that John Jones and Francis Ngannou have been yapping at each other. Of course, we all know Francis Ngannou is the taker of souls, the devourer of worlds. How John Jones would fare in a contest with Francis Ngannou, hard to say. It's hard to bet on Francis Ngannou, to be 100% honest with you. I mean, even though he got, beat pillar to post by Stipe Miocic in 5 rounds. Was it 2-3 years ago now? Man, he's come out and he's just been taking scalps. As for Anthony Smith, I mean, back down the ladder, Back to it, back down the ladder and back to work. The good thing is he doesn't fall. I mean, light heavyweight's not a particularly thick division. I think it's one of the lighter divisions across all gender spectrums. So he doesn't fall too far from, contendership. But he does fall, a rung or two. I think for Anthony Smith, a good bout for him coming up would be Corey Anderson. Both fighters are coming off a loss. Both fighters are ranked top 10, I believe. Then last night, we had another fight, another UFC Fight Night. Florida again. No word yet on when Fight Island will take place or when it will be revealed to exist. And if I could real quick, before we get into Overeem versus Walt Harris, I'm loving the fact that the fights recently. One, I love that it's the only live sport going on right now. I love that. Being my favorite sport for some time. Now that we're finally in the spotlight and we're hogging it, oh, it's great. It's beautiful. And Jesus Christ, hearing the sounds of bone on bone, it's unsettling almost. It's like someone just taking baseball bats and thwacking them against metal poles. It's awesome. It's addictive. Some people go on the YouTube, and they just watch videos of chiropractic medicine, of people getting their backs popped. I could watch hours upon hours of UFC fights with no fans and people just getting their faces popped. Oh my God. It's addictive. But there is a sort of presentation element missing from it. Back in the day when Pride FC was combating for the number one MMA promotion in the world, presentation was such a huge element. I remember Jason Mayhem Miller coming out with dancers behind him. There would be flames rising on the ramp as the fighters descended to the ring. I think they should bring that back. I think it would be gangster if they did these fights Kumite style, Mortal Kombat style. Some torches. No electrical lights, just straight up torches. If they don't do this for any of the remaining fight cards taking place on the mainland, they for sure need to do this on Fight Island. In fact, the cage itself should be either on a mountaintop or on a sandy beach, and just giant flames illuminating the fight for everyone to see. And there should also be drums. Just dung 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 dung, just beating away as these human beings just beat the living shit out of each other. The rhythm picks up as the round descends. But last night, May 16th, we had Alistair Overeem, 8th ranked UFC heavyweight, arguably the most decorated MMA heavyweight who's ever lived, former Strikeforce heavyweight world champion, former Dream heavyweight world champion, former K1 heavyweight kickboxing world champion. He's fought for a UFC title. Fought in multiple Pride Grand Prix, I believe. Savage. 46-18. He's had over 60 professional fights. Now, his last fight, Alistair Overeem was resoundingly beating the brakes off Jared Zeno Rosenstruck before Jared Zeno hit him with a sledgehammer Hail Mary out the back pocket that split his lip open, Harvey Dent style. And he lost via TKO. So Alistair was looking to rebound here. Looking to rebound against Walt Harris. Those of you unfamiliar with Walt Harris' story, Walt Harris is a top 10 heavyweight now, but for the last few years he's been on a top 15 bubble. And recently, tragedy struck Walt Harris and his family. Something that I think most people would concede is probably their greatest fear. Real terrible, terrible thing. Walt Harris's stepdaughter, Anaya Blanchard, was kidnapped and murdered. And regardless regardless who is going to win the fight, I think Walt Harris needs to be commended, showing the strength that he did for showing up to fight. What a display of character. That I think only in the UFC, only in MMA. But the fight itself was extremely competitive. It was a banger for the round and a half that it went on. The first round, Overeem was looking to establish movement, as he has in his last few fights. The sort of style that he's employed. Most notably, people saw this in the Stipe Miocic fight, which didn't work out for Overeem, but it was when this real drastic change in styles was really first noticed. But anyway, so in the first round, Overeem's looking to establish distance. He's moving around great, laterally, east to west. And he gets pushed up along the cage, and Walt just blasts him with a 2-3 combination. Drops him. Looks like it's going to be Walt Harris's night. Alistair Overeem, being the veteran that he is, survived, held out strong, ended up getting back up to his feet, lasting out the round. Second round starts, and it is a completely different fight. Overeem seems to have figured out his timing and his range. And it should also be noted that Walt Harris is for sure exhausted. For sure exhausted. He had dropped Alistair in the first round about the midway point. Alistair recovered fairly well and ended up controlling the rest of the round from top position, sapping Walt Harris of what strength he had. Just really grinding on him. And it paid off in dividends in the second round. Alistair fires off a head kick, smashes through Walt Harris's guard, follows up with a punch. And that's all she wrote. Finishes Walt Harris TKO in the second round. Stellar performance. Big win for Alistair Overeem, who needed it. Coming off a loss to Jaron Rosenstruck. Where Alistair goes from here, man, he was... at that 8th ranked position. He's a perennial contender. He's a legend of combat sports. I'd like to see him fight Derek Lewis next. Number 5 ranked Derek Lewis, the Black Beast. Everybody knows Derek Lewis. He's gangster as hell. My balls was hot. Derek Lewis. That would be a banger of a fight, man. Would Derek Lewis's forward pressure and would his power be able to negate Alistair's movement and his fight IQ, his veteran savvy? I don't know, but it'd be gangster to watch. For Walt Harris, the great thing about the heavyweight division is that you can take a loss, but you can always just respond, 1-2 fights that you win in spectacular fashion. Oh man, you're right there, You're never too far away from the top in the heavyweight division. So, for Walt Harris, who's 13-8 now, I would like to see him fight a rematch, actually, against Fabricio Verdum. In their first fight, I believe Walt Harris took on extremely short notice and was submitted in the first round. This time, I think with a full camp, I think it might be a tale of two fights. Walt looked really good in that first round, in the first half of the first round. His hand speed is crisp. I like how he keeps the action in front of him. But man, needs to up his stamina bar a little bit. And I think he could be right there, man. He was on that 15-10 bubble. Now he's on that 10-5 bubble. I think if you make some minor adjustments to his game, particularly in the stamina endurance department, I think he could really ascend to that 5-2 bubble. Fabricio Verdum, for those of you who watched UFC 249, fought Alexei Oleinik, which was, one of the least entertaining fights of the night, to no fault of their own. It was also, on the feet at least, it was, I don't want to say it was sloppy, but it was just a bizarre thing to watch. Fabricio, for that matter, also, it was particularly one of the worst shapes physically I had seen him come in for a fight. And this is a guy who went into Mexico City and took the crown from Cain Velasquez via guillotine in the second round, I believe. But he came in to this fight and he was looking soft, particularly around the midsection. I do believe he was coming off a bit of a break, a suspension, but man, losing to Alexei Oleinik in your comeback fight, it's not where you want to be if you're Fabricio Verdum. But, that ace in the hole is he does have a win over Walt Harris, who, since he was ranked number 9, he lost to the 8th ranked Alistair Overeem. He won't fall too hard. Fabricio Verdum, I believe, is ranked 15. So, sounds about right. I think that's the right look to go with. Speaking of looks, there is definitely a wrong look to go with, and that is the look that my Los Angeles Rams have donned for their new uniforms. Goodness gracious. These things are some of the ugliest fucking jerseys I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's particularly sad that we, as the premier LA team, have a significantly lesser quality jersey than the Chargers, who are basically, the Rams are the landlords of the Los Angeles Chargers. We rent out our stadium to the Chargers, but the Chargers are going to look so much better than us, and it drives me insane. It really pisses me off. The 3 uniforms that the Rams released, there was like an all blue jersey. It had a yellow kind of accent on the shoulder. The Rams helmets have remained, color-wise, pretty much the same. The horn itself, the Rams horn, has a different design to it. It's more of a modern design. I'm not a fan of it, but it is, it's probably the least quibble part of the entire ensemble, to be honest with you. But this all-blue jersey, man, it's not great. It reminds me not of UCLA's jerseys. I want to say University of Delaware. Just that poppin' ass blue with just a little bit of yellow. Let's see here. Yeah, University of Delaware. That's what the blue jersey reminds me of. Joe Flacco's alma mater. The most average-ass quarterback of all time, Joe Flacco. That's what we're repping. Then there was the more traditional blue and yellow mesh. Blue jersey, yellow pants. But it just... The retro Rams jerseys are so iconic. They're so classy. It has just the right amount of yellow with just the right amount of white and blue. And it seems like they completely just fucking forgot about, just threw all that out the window. They're like, no, let's create the biggest eyesore we can for the television viewing audience. So what you legitimately have is basically yellow pants, if not completely solid. They may be completely solid yellow pants. Completely solid blue jersey. Okay, here we go. So they're not completely yellow. They have a solid blue stripe that runs down the side of the pants into blue socks. And the all blues have a yellow solid stripe that runs down the side of the pants. Man, it's just basic as fuck. It is basic as fuck. It looks like, something a graphic designer at the world's worst UPS store may do. And I know something about that because I may have worked at the world's worst UPS store. There is one jersey that is kind of growing on me, and that is the quote-unquote bone jersey. The bone jersey I don't hate it. It's growing on me. It's like this off-white kind of marrow white jersey with solid blue lettering with a thin yellow stripe running down the pants. I don't hate the coloring. The font of the letters, it's a little... I don't know. I mean, the more I look at it, the more I'm torn. I think, I kind of like it. And then I look at it closer, I'm like, I fucking hate it. What it does look like to me, if not for the University of Delaware, it reminds me a lot of the Golden State Warriors jerseys. In fact, it looks like a basketball jersey. Like they went to the NBA and they were like, hey, could you guys design us a NFL jersey? We want to look clean and cowardly when it comes to contact. That's the new Los Angeles Rams. Disregard that we have the most intimidating, most effective defensive player of the last decade in Aaron Donald on our team. Let's have clean, soft jerseys. These jerseys are Charmin soft. And I hate them. Except for maybe the bone one. It may grow on me. But what bothers me most about it is it's such a lost opportunity. Such a lost opportunity. In the release they put out for the jerseys, celebration of LA, celebration of history. Stupid. What they should have done, and this would have been metal as fuck. They should have came out with some sort of Dias de los Muertos design, some sort of Chicano influenced design, man. On those ram horns, some Dias de los Muertos art on those ram horns, man. Celebrate the Chicano Angeles culture that we so identify with the region. Celebrate that. No, not the Rams. What are these jerseys? Jerseys are supposed to say something. They're supposed to, tell a story about your city and your state. What the fuck do these jerseys say about our state? Clean? You go down Skid Row, it's the farthest thing from clean. I don't know what these jerseys say about our state. And what our jerseys need to say is that we are the motherfucking team in California. We are the Californian team. The Raiders are gone. It's the Rams now. And I truly believe that. The Chargers never should have left San Diego. San Diego deserves a professional football team. The Chargers should be that team. Undisputably. They live in their own fucking bubble anyway. Whale's vagina. And the 49ers, it's the same thing, man. The Bay Area is such a unique place unto itself that it's neither SoCal nor NorCal. That leaves the Rams. The Valley team. should represent both Southern California and Northern California. And what better way to represent California culture than to celebrate the Chicano Hispanic culture in California, or, formerly known as North Mexico. I mean, why not? It would have been so tight. It would have been so dope. And there's so many different color schemes you could have done with it. I think the NFL should start doing like special jerseys. Kind of like how the NBA does like the city jerseys. Unique jerseys to celebrate a unique occasion. I think the NFL should do something similar to that, man. If there's anything that the NFL can take from the NBA, man, it's that. Speaking of which, still talking about the Rams here. The Los Angeles Rams, California's new number 1 team. Definitely not the 49ers. Definitely not the Los Angeles Chargers, little brother Chargers. And for sure, not the Las Vegas Raiders, who should be called the Silver State Raiders. But I digress. The NFL draft was not too long ago. I haven't really had a chance to really get into the Rams draft, how they did this year. And, looking at the top 10% of the iceberg before I was really getting into this season, when I first saw it, I was like, what? We went rounds 2 through 6 without drafting an offensive lineman. And we didn't draft a single offensive lineman to our last pick. That kind of blew my mind. Offensive line was one of our biggest weaknesses last year. Whether it been the health or whether it been the actual performance. That's debatable. That's up for discussion. But I definitely would have thought adding some depth on our offensive line through the draft would have been a priority for us. Now, of course, we did bring back Andrew Whitworth, a future Hall of Famer, the great Andrew Whitworth. But I'm not mad at what we did. What we had to do immediately was address the loss of Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was released this past year. He signed with the Atlanta Falcons, leaving a big hole in the Rams offense. We need someone to alleviate the pressure off Jared Goff, to take some, to bring some defenders into the box so we can allow Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods to get open, Josh Reynolds, Tyler Higbee. Shout out to Western Kentucky University. My first foray into higher education, Western Kentucky University. With the 52nd pick in the second round, the Rams drafted Cam Akers. Might be Akers. I'll say Cam Akers, running back out of Florida State. I haven't done too much research, but from everything that I've heard, from what I understand, is that he was the top recruit in the nation at one point, chose to go to Florida State, and balled out. All things given, he had one of the worst offensive lines in the nation. And yet he still racked up over 1,000 yards. Still dropped a stack on him. So hopefully he'll be able to do the same with our suspect offensive line. Also in the second round, Rams drafted Van Jefferson, wide receiver out of Florida. This guy, reminds me a lot of Cooper Kupp. Crisp routes, soft hands, breakaway speed. I think it will be, a year or two before Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson are both flanker and split end, and we got Robert Woods at the slot. There's some things I really liked, that we did in this draft. My favorite thing we did in this draft was draft Terrell Lewis out of Alabama, Roll Tide. I can't tell you for how long I've desired to have a Alabama linebacker, an Alabama defender on the Los Angeles Rams. This year we have 2. We drafted Terrell Lewis, edge rusher from the Tide, and we signed A'Shawn Robertson in free agency to be on the defensive line alongside Aaron Donald. So there's some good stuff we did, man. There's some decent stuff we did. On the surface, I looked at the draft and I was like, Jesus. Seems like a wasted opportunity. Seems like we screwed the pooch, laid the big egg. But upon further inspection, man, I think it's all right. I think we did okay. And I'm optimistic for our future. If there is a future, if the NFL will play this year, who knows? But I think it's important to remain hopeful. Much like how it is to have goals, it is important to remain optimistic. Things will get better. Sooner or later, things will get better. And, yeah. So that's about it for this episode, everyone. I want to thank you guys for hanging out. Marco will be back at the end of the week to bring it home for us. In the interim, I want to bid you all safe tidings. Stay cool. When you're cool, you're never hot. In the immortal words of Ross G. Follow us on Instagram at The Closers Podcast. On Facebook, follow us at Closers Podcast. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Closers Podcast, as well. Alright, everyone. Adios. And I shall see you later on.